So, how was yesterday? I know you had the full day with the workshop.
Yeah, so I've never done a workshop before. This was my first workshop ever. And I think the message landed well. At least that's what I felt from the feedback, how I ended it. At the end of the talk, I was asking, how would you think that what we've designed as a quality strategy is successful? And I intentionally did not add any information in my slides or said anything. And everybody said what I wanted them to say, which is great. So I think it was successful. But yeah, tutorials are hard work.
Yeah, but I saw you getting ready, so it's always when you get ready, you get most
the
of
adrenaline, I think, and then afterwards you don't realize how much energy it takes and gives as well. But it was a lot of fun. I did enjoy it.
You get ready and your mind get a boost of adrenaline, and then you don't know what to do with it, just sitting there in front of the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is Shift Happens podcast by Romanian Testing Conference 2023. We are here today with Maryam, Umar. So thank you for joining us.
Of course.
We're gonna start with a short introduction, but I'll let you do it yourself. So just briefly introduction. Who are you and what is the impact that you have on the IT world?
Who am I? I'm Maryam. I'm based in London. I'm originally from Pakistan. I've been in London for about 18 years. Software testing, I think I was a born software tester because I was always correcting people and telling them. I remember when my grandfather used to use some incorrect pronunciation for some English words, I'll be like, it's not this, it's this. And then I'd always be finding defects in things like, oh, this is not how you make the bed, or this is not how you organize the books, and things like that. I kind of fell into software engineering because I didn't want to do medicine. And those were the two choices I had at the time. And I'm really grateful and humbled and fortunate that I found a profession which I genuinely enjoy. I've been in the industry for about 16 years now, and I've seen so many changes over the years where we started with automation and now it's all about AI and things like that, right? So I really enjoy it, and for me, it's about giving back now. That's where I am in my professional journey, I would say. It's so important to share with everybody the challenges you've been, which is why when I talk at these conferences, I'm known as a storyteller. I share personal experiences and personal difficult experiences because everybody likes to share success stories, but we really learn from failure stories.
Exactly.
When you talk about impact, I think for me personally and as well, I think the impact I've had has been when I've shared my mental health journey in the world of software testing. Because as a software tester, we just feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to make sure everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's been a journey to share that, and also realizing on the journey that perfection is something we create for ourselves. It's not imposed on us.
Indeed.
So yeah, I think that's the impact. I think impact is a very big word. I just think it's my small way of telling people that it's okay to not be perfect. I mean, it's okay if you miss defects. It's okay, You don't have to put that on yourself.
Definitely. And sharing all this, it's really inspiring for others. And it's something that I think it's missing more and more in the last years. And unfortunately, this is like a challenge that we're gonna have with all the changes around with AI and with people working at home.
Because you lose the emotion, right?
Exactly. We lose that bonding and we lose that connection, and in the workplace, in the professional life, in the personal life, can have impacts anywhere. You mentioned something about medicine or software engineering, like the two options that you had. How was it like? You had like family?
No. So it was in school. In school, we had two tracks. In Pakistan, at that time, now children have a lot more options, so that's great. The option was either you take biology or you take computer science. And it's like, I don't want to dissect cockroaches in a lab. So I thought, okay, there's a computer in the house, maybe it'll work. I did enjoy mathematics quite a lot, so maybe that's why I ended up doing this.
I was asking because I feel it also on personal level. I have an engineer and a doctor in the house, and for me it was like the family was kind of, they didn't try to tell me do that or that, but I had two models in my family, right? And I was also having the engineer telling me, a mechanical engineer, not a software engineer, but telling me, don't become an engineer. It's no fun becoming an engineer. Try maybe medicine like your mother, like, yeah. And I was becoming an engineer, and I really enjoy it. But now I'm hearing stories from my brother who's a doctor or trying to become one, surgeon, and my mind said, okay, you're gonna need something like this in your life because you can have more impact as a doctor than an engineer on one side.
But not necessarily. Like my journey is completely different. In my house, I come from a military family. So my father was in the Navy, and my mom is a professor. She's a teacher.
Yeah.
So completely different. And me and my brother, we're both in tech. Completely different.
Yeah. But were there learnings from your family, from your father's career, from your mother's career that helped the Maryam that it's now to become a better professional?
One thing I've learned, I think when you're when you're a military child or whatever you want to call it, change was very easy because we were moving around all the time, moving schools. Dad was traveling quite a bit in the early years because that's when the harder training is. But as you progress, and he was a manager, so to say, which I am now.
Yeah.
And with mom, she was a teacher, so she always had to organize her lessons for university students and so on. So I think those two things really helped me. Now, when I talk about like the organizing bit, mom really instilled that in me when I was organizing myself for exams or assignments or projects. I kind of use the same thinking. It's a learned behavior. And then the managing piece, I really learned it from my father. Although he's been retired for over 10 years now, what I learned from him is that connect with the people, get to know who they are, and then it'll easily come to you what they're good at.
I was asking you this because it's somehow a sensitive topic for me. Like, I know it was really important to have sort of mentors around, whether it was teachers in the school. We were discussing with Lena, for example, and she was telling us, it was my teacher in the early years that said, I want to see your name on a book, and now she has her name on a book, right? And it's family that help us sometime. And why is it sensitive? Because discussing lately with parents, they are telling me that all this digital transformation we are living, it's making kids be more a part of their communities, whether it's family, it's school, and it's more what they get from the technology and the digital world they are living it. And I'm wondering if after 20 years the kids will have a podcast like this where they be able to say the same thing, or they will say, I thank you AI for teaching me that and that.
I think every child has to go through their own journey. I wasn't this manager, or I had this mindset when I started 16 years ago. I was like, oh, I'm going to find my own journey. I'll find what career options I have and so on. And they would recommend things to me like, oh, you change too often, or what is going on. You get bored with the jobs, because there is boredom sometimes when you're just testing the same thing in and out, in and out. But I think everybody comes to this realization themselves that technology cannot be replaced with companionship. I was reading somewhere during COVID that we're all more connected, but we're more alone now. If you talk to people, who later in their careers, they just feel like, oh, I wish I had a place to vent and speak to somebody about the challenges I have when I speak to people. I was actually just speaking to someone in my team, and she's actually traveled back home because her mother's unwell. And she started talking about this project, that project. And I was like, stop. None of the projects matter because your parent is unwell.
Yeah, of course.
And this type of thing you cannot get from artificial intelligence. That type of compassion won't exist. I don't think so.
Yeah, we are always talking about life and work blend and balance and whatever, but it's all life.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes it's one priority, sometimes it's the other. So,
Yeah.
and we cannot do too many things in the same time because we're gonna do all of them poorly. So
Exactly. Oh, that lesson I learned very quickly. Can't do everything perfectly. Just choose a couple of things and just be good at it.
yeah, yeah. I'm a bit frightened about these changes with digitalization and AI and so on. I understand I have to embrace them, but I'm a bit frightened because I feel that we're gonna lose that connection and we're gonna lose the things that make us better as humans, right? And I'm not sure who will be the one that will say, okay, stop now. There are some kids that are spending their time in front of the computer too much. Who will be able to tell them you have to stop now? Because they will say, no, I have to be more in front of the computer. Now I have ChatGPT that will help me do
Oh my
more
God,
and
don't
more
even
things.
get me started. I know people, somebody at work, they planned a holiday. They were planning a holiday and they got their kids involved. So the kids are 10 and 12 years old to organize the holiday. And all they used was ChatGPT to organize the whole holiday, which is
Really?
great for something like that. But then my brother actually works in the area of artificial intelligence and computer vision. But what he works on is more about providing better options.
Yeah.
And that I think is good if it can give you more targeted options, because right now, like, we've grown up at a time where you search for something in Google and it really depends on the keywords you use. But for them, they can just put it and the chatbot learns about what you're trying to look for and just suggest things accordingly, which is okay, I think. It gives it ties in with this fast feedback, getting everything instantly type of thing, which is
Okay.
positive. It saves
Indeed.
time. But then the scary thing is, I actually went to a conference quite a few years ago now where they were talking about the people who are writing these algorithms. How are they good people?
Exactly.
You know, it's the what's the word to use? You genuinely want people to think about not being vicious or, devilish or whatever word you want to use for this when they're writing this. Because
Yeah.
it is scary that you have, like, my house is very much automated, but a lot of things, like, I know, well, it's great for the cats because they know when they can go in and out, and they can be fed on time. But do I want something to listen in on the conversations that are happening in the house? Not so sure.
Exactly. This is what I've been saying recently, that I somehow feel that we miss the fact that the artificial intelligence, it's actually, it comes, like the seed of it is human intelligence,
Yeah.
right? It's not like someone came with a plane from somewhere out
There's
there
no
and
stork
said, this is
involved."
your artificial intelligence, right? It's human intelligence
created it.
that
Yeah.
created it. And on the other side, I see more and more IT guys that are not really, they don't understand the importance of their work. This is what scares me a lot, because I said
The impact,
the doctor
yeah.
can have an impact, but actually you have software in a lot of parts of their lives, right? You have your car full of software, you have your house full of software. So if there's no somebody responsible behind that put that solution on the table. You have robots that doing surgery, right? Helping doctors doing surgery.
Yeah.
If that thing is not fully tested and properly tested, you can.
I almost actually worked for an organization where they're building these robots, and it was founded by a doctor in the Middle East, and she's but what they're inventing is actually brilliant. What they're working on is creating some software, and again, the role was about how do you test something like this, which enables doctors from across the world to give information, because you don't have specialists in that geographical location. So it was about how you can engage and bring those doctors in to the operating room, but not being there physically.
Yeah.
And then using that software to help. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's also artificial intelligence, and it was built long ago when we were not discussing about it.
Exactly.
And it was the proper meaning. For me, this is what technology is about. It's not about giving a tool to people to be able to plan their holidays. It's about giving a tool to doctors to make sure that they can perform a surgery perfectly, because you're playing with someone's lives there.
Yeah.
It's about having a tool that will help me, monitor my house better, right? Because I cannot do it remotely, and I have the tools around that they will help me so I can rest better in my holiday, right?
Yeah. But
this
then if there is a break-in, what can you do on holiday?
Yeah.
There's the other side of this as well.
Call some robots there.
Too much monitoring is also not good for health. I have a story about this. So I have 2 cats who I leave at home, and they're chipped, and there's a cat flap in the house, and I have an app on my phone, so wherever I'm in the world I can see when did they go in and out of the house, just so that they're fine, they're alive, nobody's run over them. But there's one day I'm like, don't know how many time zones away from home, and one day I'm like, one of the cats has not been at home for 16 hours. I'm like, okay, this is worrying, but what can I do sitting here? And I think that's where she was fine, thankfully.
Yeah.
She was just snoozing outside under a tree. But I think it also creates anxiety when you have too much information. So you just like you were saying about this whole AI ChatGPT, I've actually consciously not read any updates about it. Personally, I have not, because I know it'll come into my life eventually anyway. So why bother about this? Oh, this, that, the other. This is not right. This is not safe. I don't need that anxiety right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I totally get you. I do the same with my dog back at home, both me and my wife. And sometimes, we check on him too often. And sometimes we start to feel guilty because we are having fun outside and he's bored inside the house. And definitely, this is totally different than our parents were doing it, and
they're waiting for letters.
But the conclusion that I can take is that this is just the normality. Change is normal. So
change is the only constant, is what I keep saying.
Yeah,
change is the only constant.
It's the only constant. So we just have to take it for granted, and we have to pay attention to other things, like keep some anxiety out of your brain so you can be a better human or professional or so on.
More relaxed, more content.
More relaxed, yes. Because in the end, as you said, it's humans, and we've been discussing about this and a lot, even though we're gonna rely on AI, for example, to build content for us. It will be the humans that will be able to say this is good or bad, this is
and it also
fake
depends
or
on
not.
the human, what frame of mind they're in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to that point that you already mentioned, where we have to make sure the humans are responsible. We have to make sure that they
responsible members of the community.
And they understand the importance of continuous learning and the importance of becoming better and better and understanding the world around their life, their career, everything.
Yeah.
I have some insights about you.
Uh-oh.
So you recently changed jobs, right?
Yeah, almost 9 months ago. Yeah.
If it's under 1 year, it's recently, yeah.
But
Okay.
what's recent in tech nowadays?
So if it's between two Romanian testing conference editions, we call it recently. So what were the factors? What were the motivations? What drove you to take that career
To take
change?
this role? So I really enjoy traveling. And I have worked in their competitors organization a few years ago. I was a hands-on tester at the time, and now I'm a manager. Plus, I also have a fintech background. So on paper, I had all the criteria, and we talk about. I think this is just going to take us on a tangent about how diverse candidates only apply for jobs where they tick all the criteria. I literally chased this job. So interviews process started in May. And I finally landed the job early September. That's how long the process took, just holidays and interviews, and there was a reorg happening there as well. So there was that reason. Well, I think that was one of the biggest reasons I'd always wanted to work in this organization. Plus, I'm pretty sure I want to work with the right leadership. The leaders
And
where
you
I
found it
was. Yeah, I did find. I have actually found it there, and I'll talk about it in my keynote as well about change because it changed when I joined. But it's very true when people say they don't join companies, they join managers, and they leave managers, they don't leave companies because these are the people you interact with every day.
So it's not only punchlines on LinkedIn. It's
No,
the actual.
it's actually true, and and again, everybody comes to this realization in their own time. And for me, the person I spoke to, what was amazing, was that this was the final interview, and I was speaking to them. I was like, Maryam, I have seen you talk in a conference. I was like, really? Which one? And then he had heard my talk. I do a talk about things I knew as a first-time manager. I wish I knew as a first-time manager. He was like, it was brilliant. It was so useful, and this and that. I was like, this is amazing. Some people think speaking at conferences is just meh. Some people think that it's a part of my job, which ties into what I was saying earlier. It's like, no, it's become more of a hobby now because I really enjoy giving back. And there were people who were listening, and you never know who you bump into. And so he spoke about that. We got along really well. They were establishing the team, and the team's, I would say, still in its storming phase because we're still hiring, establishing who works where, and so on. But yeah, those are the reasons I changed the job. Travel perks are involved, so that was a win-win for me personally.
So it's a good work-life balance, yeah?
So far, I actually don't do full-time jobs anymore. I only do 36-hour weeks now. I've actually had that agreement with them as well, that I don't want to do 40-hour weeks anymore. I just think all of this is integration. I think it's more about work-life integration than work-life balance, because I work better when I have less time, because then you're consciously thinking about, okay, I have this much of time. What are the meetings I really need to go to? What are the things which are most impactful? You work on building a team which you can delegate to. People feel more autonomy. They feel that your manager is actually relying on you more, which creates a sense of ownership. And I just think it's working brilliantly. So I'm really, really humbled and fortunate that I'm in a position now where I feel content.
It's exactly how I set up the ground rules with the organization that I get involved with. I try to improve the quantity of meetings that we have for me and for the others as well. And also I always say, I'm gonna do 30 or 36 or 32 hours. Of course, I try to be a team player, right? And if there's 1 or 2 weeks when I'm involved 42,
it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, same.
It's okay. Yeah. But my mind needs to know that we set the line, we set the limit, right? To these 32 or 36 hours. And this helped me become a better professional. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to train the organizations into this approach, and I hope that it will become like a change in the future.
When I joined, the HR representative actually said to me, "Thank you for challenging us for this.
Yeah.
Why don't we do this?" And my manager still says, like, I allow you to do everything, but this I'm not so sure about. I was like, I will make it work and I will make you want to do this as well. But no, it's really nice. And I think it's also something people don't think about when they're negotiating, when they're starting a new job. And again, this is something you learn over time as well. When I had the offer and I was negotiating this, a few of my friends said, "Are you sure you want to continue negotiating? You may lose the job offer." I was like, no. Have faith in what you need. Push yourself a little bit harder till when it gets a little bit uncomfortable, and then you're fine.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to emphasize on it. I heard you saying that I was chasing that job, and I really love that, that you said that, because unfortunately I've met in the last years, especially young ones, that somehow if they graduate software engineering university, they are like, come on, there's a lot of engineers needed in the market. There's you need more of us than available out of the school. So what do you give me? Do you have massage at the office? Do you have more money for me? Do you have drinks at the office? So they are waiting the company to step in and put on the table more and more perks, and there's less and less people chasing the jobs, and this is what makes you less and less involved and less professional, I would say. So this is like a take-out, important learning and take-out for our viewers, that it's perfectly normal, and we really encourage you guys to do this, because
this thing of perks and jobs,
they
what
come
happens
as a consequence.
Because I know people who work at the Googles and the Amazons and all of them. Perks are amazing. They create an environment so you stay in the office. What do you do when you stay in the office? You eat, drink, and you work. It comes at a cost, which you don't realize until much later on in life.
And maybe
but
it's
perks
fine
are important.
for some.
And it's fine. I think it's okay when you're young in your career, when you're still learning. You learn the most by pairing, by being around the right people and so on. But as you progress, you need to realize that this is not a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. We were curious about one more thing. We know there's a lot of change happening, and we wanted to hear from you. What do you think would be the changes that you want to see in the testing area in the future, but what are the ones that should remain unchanged? So what should we stick with, but what should we change furthermore in the future?
What should we stick with? That's a difficult one, because our stakeholders are changing. So what do we stick with? I think we should stick with being lean and always testing the right thing.
Okay.
Not testing everything, but testing the right thing.
Good one.
What's changing, the way I see the industry changing, is there's definitely, and I may upset some viewers when I say this, there's definitely, most places don't really have a test engineer in every team now, if you speak to the bigger organizations. Because what happens is we all talk about mini waterfalls inside teams, and that's what happens. Because quality is not everybody's responsibility then. I have experienced that myself as a manager, as a tester in the team, and as a tester outside the team. And you really need to see people who are in the field of quality as, I would say, improvement specialists.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say change specialists, but people who are enabling us to use the products we want. So really need to think about how we structure teams going forward. I think that is going to change massively. There are these ideas of quality coaches, quality as a service, and so on. And also, it's important that people really start understanding the difference between quality and testing. Testing is a part of quality, it's not quality.
Exactly.
Because a lot of organizations, I was saying in my workshop yesterday, it's like, how many of you, when you've spoken to your stakeholders, have come around and said to you, all we need is a zero defect policy? And you're like, that's not possible. Code is written by humans. Humans make mistakes.
And it won't be possible when the code will be the one that we copy from ChatGPT. It will be the same thing.
It actually produces very nice code. If you're in a coding exercise in an interview, ChatGPT gives you the right solution.
Yeah,
We tried that in our team.
But building complex solutions,
No, it's not going to do that.
it's a lot more than that. And you cannot input ChatGPT with all the information you can get when you want to build like large systems.
I'd really
right?
like to meet the programmers who wrote ChatGPT to see what was in their brain, what was the idea behind it, just to see what were the customer requirements in their head.
Yeah.
And how was it tested? Because there's no limit to the scenarios there, if you think about it. The foundational information remains the same, that the way we do testing remains the same.
And again, what frightens me would be, and in relation with what we were discussing, would be the quality of data. And this is like the most challenge that I had recently in my organization. And it's like we are doing an industrial revolution there, but we are dealing with quality of data issues. And just like a lot of other organizations, we bring testers too late in the process.
Of course.
Right? And it's about preparing the systems from the beginning to be better testable and provide better data quality and so on. Whoa, it was really interesting discussing with you about all these things. Is there anything that I didn't ask you and you want to share with our viewers, or maybe some closing message to the RTC community?
I think what I really want to say is for the RTC community, it's my first time at RTC. It's my first time in Romania, so I'm really excited. One more country I can scratch off from my world map. I think find comfort in challenging the status quo. That's really important. And find a way to do it in a respectful way. I think it comes to us naturally as testers that we challenge our teams that this is how a certain functionality should behave in the product and it's not behaving that way, and then we get frustrated, and we get so frustrated by it that eventually we leave the organization. And just find a way to understand their point of view. Don't go in with a tunnel vision. Think about, you're supposed to be out of the box thinkers. Try and do that and really understand who your stakeholders are and what they actually need. Because I don't think testing is going to stop at all. There's still a need for it. There will still be a world where we will need people who come up with these ideas of how people can use our products. So I don't think the jobs are going to go. So there's nothing to worry about there. What you need to worry about is how well you exercise that information with the teams you are in. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's true. And also, coming from a developer myself, developers will always need testers in their life to become better developers, and also testers can get the help of developers
100%. Yeah.
to do a better job. Yeah, so we need to stick together. Thanks a lot for sharing your stories. Thank you everyone for watching us. I was Alex Muncioi, podcast Shift Happens. We were live at Romanian Testing Conference 2023. Check us on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and see you in the next episode.
That was intense, man.